headline says, well, where does that leave Dak Prescott and the Cowboys? I don't know. Those are two different conversations because Jared Goff's a much better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl and to 2 NFC championships, same conference.
Fair. Here with us from Chicago, 670 The Score. Took the day off, I heard. Yeah. Danny Parkins. Yeah. We'll start with you, Nick. Yeah. What does Goff's new deal mean for Dak?
Well, I use this line on the show a lot, but I'll use it again. It's Marlo Stanfield's line.
Guys, don't you think, though, that I should be a guest on First Things First? Like, shouldn't I be there instead of that guy? Just saying. Maybe one day. And
price of the brick going up and up and up. Colin's entitled to his opinion. This is one of the reasons I'm not a quarterback wins guy. En route to that Super Bowl, Jared Goff was brutal in every game. In every game, including the game he beat the Cowboys in a playoff game en route to that Super Bowl, where he had 2 running backs both go for $115 or more, and Dak had Zeke go 20 carries for 40 yards. Jared Goff had 1 touchdown pass total en route to that Super Bowl, and then in the Super Bowl they scored 3 points. Wow. And so, and people are like, he's been to a Super Bowl, and so that's why I'm not a quarterback wins guy. I think what it means for Dak, what it means for my guy Trevor, what it means for Tua, what it means for potentially Jordan Love, is all of those guys' floor is now this deal. Is that whatever and this deal, by the way.
You think all of those guys are better than Goff?
I think all of them will get more money than Goff, yeah. I think all of those guys are viewed better in Tua, maybe not viewed higher in league circles, but it's his own team that drafted him, that has built him up so much, so it's a different spot. And just real quick, Danny, Florio got the real numbers. This is not fake money. He is going to get essentially in guarantees $165 million for the next 3 years. That's $55 million a year over the next 3 years. Okay. So that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah, Colin's wrong. I mean, Dak is better than Goff, and you could do anything subjective that you want, but the numbers also show it. If you compare Dak to Goff, or you could compare him to the MVP of the league last year, Lamar Jackson, because Dak finished second on that. We've got a graphic that shows the numbers, and it compares very favorably for Dak Prescott.
Guys, I don't know if I have the strength anymore to keep saying this again and again and again. Dak Prescott's numbers are nonsense. He does really well against really bad teams. He then plays not so good against good teams. He has a losing record. I think his win percentage is 25 to 30% against winning teams. His passer rating, his yards, everything drops down significantly. He becomes completely pedestrian. So stop with this nonsense. Stop looking. The Cowboys last season, you want to compare it to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had a winning record against winning teams. He demolished really, really good teams. Dak Prescott won I forget, I used to have the list somewhere. He won 1 game against the winning record team. So stop with this nonsense. Just stop. It's really easy to blow out the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. He got to play the Giants and the Commanders twice each. That's 4 games right there. Then the Cardinals, that's 5. Just stop. Stop with this nonsense. Stop with just the numbers. Okay? So it's just nonsense. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense.
He led the league in touchdowns last year with 36. Jared Goff's never had 36 touchdowns in his career. Jared Goff's never had a passer rating in his career that Dak Prescott had last year. So the numbers for Dak clearly show that he's better than Goff. But then also, situation matters here. The Lions have a better offensive line than Dallas does. They have a better play caller. They got a better supporting cast. And so you take all those things, a running game, a quarterback's best friend. Detroit led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. Dallas was league average. So I'm with you. I think Dak Prescott is going to reset the quarterback market here. He'll be the first $60 million per year man in the NFL.
And also, you can just hold up the graphic since we didn't have it. That way, there is a graphic.
We did the work.
I'm not even sure where it is, but go ahead. Yeah. See, there is a graphic at some point.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Look,
Good job.
Dak's numbers are better in the regular season. Playoffs, I mean, Goff's numbers aren't horrible in the playoffs.
No.
He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions and make mistakes. And I do think it's significant considering that Dak's problems have come in the postseason. Goff doesn't kill you in the postseason. And people want to give McVay the credit for him going to the Super Bowl. I get it. I thought Todd Gurley at that time was kind of their best offensive player. But look, bringing Detroit where he did this past season, I got to give him some credit for that. Now, still, if you want to argue Dak, fine. They're in the same tier. I think they're both in that second tier, right below the elite.
I agree with that entirely.
Right. So they're in the same tier. Look, the bottom line is Dak does have all the leverage in his talks with the Cowboys.
Nick just said that he believes that entirely, yet the other day he said that Goff is, probably not even marginally better than the average veteran minimum quarterback, and said that he should be right around Baker Mayfield. Well, then that means that Dak Prescott is as good as Baker Mayfield. So I'm confused by that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And Yahoo Sports reported the other day that some of the teams that might go after Dak in free agency, Pittsburgh, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me because they got Justin Fields, but Pittsburgh, the Raiders, and the Giants. And the Giants are a place, we talked about it yesterday, maybe an offset. You play your quarterback in New York with the Giants, you get a lot of publicity that's similar to Dallas. But the Raiders, to me, makes the most sense. I mean, you got Devontae Adams there. They got the tight end, Brock Bowers, that they just drafted. Like that, and they obviously are dying for a quarterback.
Let me tell you this right now. I made a Raiders video recently, and when I always talk to this community, right? I always try to combine. That's why I'm all about building a community, and so I really always want to speak to the actual people who are watching this video, right? Who are the actual true viewers, subscribers, all of that. And I combine that with also what I hear from conversations that I have in my own personal life, as well as national media, local media, all of that. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, 100% confident, the Raiders fans do not want Dak. They do not. They rather have AOC or, Minshew. And it's like not even close. I mean, like they just ripped Dak apart. They do not want Dak. They do not want Dak. They do not want Dak. So the fans do not want Dak. It's no question. Go back to the video that I made with regards to Gardner Minshew and the Raiders, and you'll see, because it was Dan Orlovsky, I think, was talking about potentially the Raiders trying to go out to get Dak, and they just were not happy about it one bit. Now, I do think that the Raiders would improve if they had a Dak Prescott, because I think Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, but not for $60 million a year. Like, what are we saying here? Dak has proven to not be good enough, to not be the person who can really move the needle forward. He is not a game breaker. He is not someone who can take a team to the next level. Can he win with a complete great team? Yes. Can you have a great complete team at $60 million a year? No, you can't. So why would you want to move forward? He had a great situation with Dallas for years. For years. Stop with this nonsense of, he didn't have a good offensive line. He didn't have a lot of weapons. He didn't have this. He didn't have that, blah, 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 blah. Then how was he successful over the years? How did they win 12 plus games 3 years in a row? How did they have these Super Bowl aspirations? Why did so many pundits and people on TV in Vegas give them great Super Bowl odds? It doesn't make sense. You can't say this guy is favored to win the MVP or this guy is favored to get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl or get to the NFC Championship. Why do you think everyone is always so shocked when they don't even make it to the NFC Championship game? Because they say that their team is good enough. And then they don't play good enough, Dak Prescott included. So stop with this. You're acting like Dak is just dragging along a bad team, and the only reason why they even have a chance is because of Dak. This is not Josh Allen and the Bills here. That's not the way this is working here. So it's a false narrative. It's just inaccurate. We can't say on one side that the Dallas Cowboys have this great team, this great defense, offensive weapons, whether it be Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb at the time, like whatever it may be, that they have these true Super Bowl aspirations. A lot of people believe that they can make it to the Super Bowl, at least the NFC Championship game, and then they come up short. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing better than Dak Prescott in the playoffs. Brock Purdy's playing better than Dak Prescott in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, I mean, like everyone is. So it's just nonsense. It's just utter nonsense.
So to me, they will probably break the bank for Dak next year if he becomes a free agent.
And do you want to?
No, I wanted to talk about Trey Lance, about all the leverage that if Dak has all this leverage, there was a report that we talked about that Trey Lance is going to get more reps. Do you think that's just like, hey, let's give Trey Lance a shot?
No,
or do you think that's
in practice.
Yes, in OT. No, I think the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have handled a lot of the offseason ridiculously. Mm-hmm. I think they are handling the Dak Prescott stuff the way they should. Which is because I don't think so. I would not be comfortable making Dak. I think you're right that his money is going to be $60 million a year. I think that means you can't win. I think that if you.
But I mean, he's 30 and Goff's 29. They're 15 months apart in age. I mean, you're getting. He's still in his quarterback prime. That's why the offseason was indefensible for Dallas. They weren't able to do anything. They weren't proactive with Dak's contract. They weren't proactive with CeeDee Lamb's contract. So their big addition is Zeke Elliott.
Hey,
so I agree that their offseason was. Especially when it comes to CeeDee Lamb, was indefensible. Jerry thinking they drafted a running back, so he talked about him, and he's like, hey, we haven't drafted him yet, and then they weren't able to. All that's bad. But I think that they are recognizing with Dak that he might be gone. Because unlike Lamar, who was franchise tagged, unlike any of these other guys, at the end of next year, they have no control over him, none whatsoever. So if the Raiders want to offer him, if the Giants want to do what I think is absolutely on the board, that a team says we want Belichick and Dak Prescott and a package deal to remake everything, and the only insurance the Cowboys could have is if they think maybe we have our new Dak Prescott in a different guy, a draft pick Dak was 4th-round pick, this guy was 3rd overall pick. They did give up a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance for a reason. Yeah. It wasn't for nothing.
It was also like Jerry doing it on his own.
And so there is.
You got to take a look at him in practice.
You have to see if that then flips the leverage back. If deep down.
Okay, now we're going to talk about Trey Lance somehow suddenly becoming something, because a true good offensive genius in Shanahan said, nope, I don't want him. Brock Purdy's coming back from surgery. He was injured. We know how important it is to have a backup quarterback. We know that firsthand experience. Not only that, but we also witnessed other teams in the past win, aka the Eagles, with the backup quarterback. But no, we'll just give up Trey Lance for pretty much nothing. You think maybe Trey Lance is not a good quarterback? You really think that Trey Lance is going to do something or somehow bring the leverage back? Somehow the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are developing Trey Lance that no other team was able to do, that literal Shanahan was unable to unlock? Do you understand how insane you sound when you make a statement like that? The answer is utterly insane. So it just doesn't make any sense. This whole conversation makes no sense. It's very simple. Goff is a better quarterback than Dak. Not light years ahead, okay? We're not talking about the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield, but it is Goff is a better leader, a better culture builder, can handle the moment, has actually been to a Super Bowl, has actually been to multiple NFC Championship games, has proven that he will not be the limiting factor in a Super Bowl run. Do we want to really use his resume of when he was really young in the NFL and when he was slowly becoming developed? I mean, like, come on. Let's be serious here. And when the Rams ended up winning that Super Bowl, they needed to add a lot more pieces. There was only so much for Jared Goff to work with in the first place, okay? It wasn't like Jared Goff just can't get throw, and then as soon as they got Stafford, boom. If that was the case, why did they go out and get Von Miller? Why did they go out and get OBJ? OBJ had like what? A touchdown and like 100+ yards in the Super Bowl? You think that's important? Do you think OBJ would have helped Jared Goff in the Super Bowl against the Patriots? The answer is yes. I think so. So you can't put this all on Jared Goff. Not to mention McVay was also learning and growing as a coach, because coaches also learn and grow and mature and improve. So it's just nonsense. But I love how we're trying to paint the picture that Dak Prescott is just a gee golly quarterback who's just trying his darnest with a team that's just really not that good. And yet Jared Goff is on the most stacked elite roster in the history of the NFL. And there you go. That's just not the reality of the situation. For years, people talk about how great, how many Pro Bowlers, all-time, all-pro players that the Dallas Cowboys have. And now all of a sudden, also with the Super Bowl winning coach in Mike McCarthy, and now we're all saying, well, Dak, that's not enough for Dak. Dak needs more. What else do you want? Then you're essentially saying that Dak Prescott can only win with a roster and a coach of the 49ers. And if that is the case, then you are not worth $60 million a year. It's that straightforward. If you can only win with an elite roster and elite coach, then you are not worth that amount of money. Not to mention, the only way you would pay someone that amount of money is if they truly proved that ability. And you now already have that elite roster. But the reality is we have no idea how Dak would handle the Super Bowl. If Dak was in the Super Bowl with the 49ers roster, we have no idea. He might not be able to handle the moment. We know Brock Purdy can handle the moment. We know Brock Purdy can step up. We know Jalen Hurts can step up. We know Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff. Those guys have proven to not shrink when the lights get the brightest. Unfortunately, Dak has. That's arguably the biggest reason why you would be uncomfortable paying someone like Dak $60 million. And as Nick Wright just said, you can't win when you pay someone like Dak $60 million. And if that's the case, then why are you doing it? If you can't win a Super Bowl, then why are you moving forward? If I told you, take away all these names, all these players, whatever, and I said, hey, we have path A and we have path B. Path A, you're not going to win a Super Bowl, but you're going to like win some games and make the playoffs. Path B, it's a big question mark. I have no idea what's going to happen, but at least the potential is to legitimately win a Super Bowl. Which would you choose? You'd be insane to choose anything but Path B, because the ultimate goal is indeed to win a Super Bowl. There you go. There you have it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think? What is this? What does Jared Goff's new deal mean for Dak Prescott? Do you think Jared Goff is not as good as Dak Prescott? And do you think Dak Prescott is going to reset the quarterback market? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.